What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and today we're going to be fixing the problem that we created with the Multistrada last week. We're going to be replacing the micro switches to the clutch side of this Multistrada. We're going to be disassembling a little bit of body work just so we can get to the central harness from the peripheral harness. Shouldn't be too difficult. It just requires basically two different sizes of Allen wrenches and just kind of tedious taking parts off until you have enough off where you can reach in. So let's get to it. I'll show you where all the fasteners are, show you what you need. Shouldn't be that difficult. Did have a couple of you guys email into me saying that you had similar issues or you created similar issues. So hopefully you guys find this video useful. And if you've noticed, I am wearing my new shirt from Wheelers Apparel. We have partnered with them on this channel. They are a new startup. They've just been around for a couple months. They're making motorcycle themed apparel. Not riding gear, just motorcycle themed apparel. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. Leave them some comments, check out their Instagram page, send them a message, let them know what you want to see. Hopefully get some ADV gear here coming out soon. Okay, so let's check out what we need here. Right under here, we have two switches, and both of these are part of the same wiring harness. So that's what we're going to be replacing. Just a small Phillips head screwdriver is going to take both of those off, and we'll have our switches clear. It's easy to tell which is which. One has this little metal tab on the outside of it that lets this bar hit it, basically for the clutch when it's pulled in all the way, and then one is just a normal micro switch without that metal bar, and that is for the outside. We have these little rubber connectors that kind of run this wiring harness around the handlebars. It runs underneath the handlebars and under basically a little harness right here that has a zip tie on it. There's another harness, and it ends up coming under the tank here, and it's this thick one right here with this rubber wrapping, and we can feel the terminal on it, the end of it, which is basically right about here on the bike. So I think we might be able to almost unplug it, but I know we absolutely won't be able to plug it back in from just reaching through the bike. We're definitely going to have to take this apart to get to it. So hopefully we can see something under the center pad. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing that we ended up doing was taking 3 screws off of this panel here. There is one right there and 2 there. They are going to be a 4mm hex head. And then that should just pull off. Remember, we did take this off once before. We can see the tabs on the bottom that hold it in. If you have any questions about how it comes off, just look at those tabs and know how it sits in. And we have little access to more of the wiring under there. Remember, we took that off when we wired the ram mount. And we can just about see inside here where all our wiring connects to. So we do have a new part. Here's the part number. It is in a Brembo bag. So all we ended up using so far is that 4mm hex. We ended up taking off the left side shroud entirely, and we took the inner bolt off of the right side shroud. So not the entire plastic piece, just the inner bolt. And on our gas tank shroud, there are 2 bolts, one on each side on the front, and then when you pop this door open, there are 2 bolts underneath, still 4mm. There is a cable connecting this, so be careful when you set it down. The cable that goes to the USB port inside, basically, so it just rests right there. And we can see our switch is going to be basically exactly under there. It is going to be right between the ignition module under the gas tank. Now, I don't know if just taking off the gas tank shroud is going to give us access to this. We may have to loosen the gas tank itself to allow it to flex back a little bit. I don't know. We're going to take off this 1 bolt here just to see if we can flex this maybe enough to get in behind it. I can just about feel where it goes in, and it seems pretty rigid, so if I can find the connector, we might be able to just do that. So maybe this is going to be doable. What we found is that although this big piece is the connector that came with it, we were able to get the end out of the existing connector. On the connector itself, we have this piece on top, which has a little tab. On the bottom, there's this piece, and towards the bottom, there's a little latch that you can pry up, basically to expose the inner connectors, and these are the connectors that actually work. We can see the orientation it came out with the flappy piece on the bottom and the little tab on top. We can just about reach it there, so we're going to try and plug this back in, and hopefully our new switches work. So that was successful. So we didn't have to take the whole tank shroud or anything off. We can pretty well access it, and I know the lighting's not great in here. We could pretty well access it right through here. This switch, you can kind of see the colored wires as it goes back in there. We're able to pretty well get to that. When you're looking at it, this is the old one coming off. The orientation it goes in, the red wire should be forward. So just remember, Ducati red wire forward. And we're able to just slip it in there. We're basically going to trade places as it goes to the handlebar and everything, and hopefully it's a pretty quick completion. So when we remove the old switches from the handlebars, these screws are actually pretty soft and they do strip out pretty easily. So just keep that in mind. Be careful taking these out. There is thread locker on them. And luckily in the new switches, as much as we pay for them, it does come with some new screws with new thread locker in the package. So I think they know these screws are kind of a one-time use sort of thing. We ended up basically getting this pretty much wired up. We do have to affix the new switches yet, and then we have to just put our cable ties back on and start reattaching bodywork. We did not have to take off this tank pad entirely. We just had to basically loosen it enough to get our hands under. Really, those two bolts didn't even need to come out. I don't think they helped us a whole lot. Just getting this side fairing off and this top fairing off so we can kind of reach down gave us enough leverage to get to that connector. Well, our switches are installed. Again, we still have to put everything back together, but they are at least wired up and everything seems to be connected. Let's go ahead and turn the bike on and just see if we get any error codes. So we're turning the bike on. We don't have any error codes right now, and the clutch is in. As we let the clutch out, it is activating that button and no error code. So it seems our switches are working and the bike is happy. So we'll go ahead and get all this put back together. Well, the bike is back together and everything is working. We have solved our problem. I still don't know what it was that exactly shorted out that switch when they were both pressed together. The bike seemed to know when the switch was being pressed. It just was giving, I guess, a false reading or something that was not acceptable to the bike, which made everything cancel. So that is now fixed and everything seems to be working. The clutch seems to be working on both sides, even with the ASV lever modified the way I had to modify it, but it's installed. The cylinder deactivation is working, all the cruise control, blind spot, everything that's supposed to be working is now working again. So this was a worthwhile thing. Like I said, I posted the exact part number. You might be able to find that on eBay a little bit cheaper. I paid about $100 for that switch, and I did pay another about $150 for the dealer to go in and interrogate the computer just to see what it was that actually failed. So really, I spent double the amount I intended to on these ASV levers. But overall, I do like the way they look, I like the way they feel, and that job is now done. Thank you guys for watching 4K Motoring. If anybody has any questions or has done something similar, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Love to hear about it. I'm sure it'd be helpful for everybody. Check out Wheelers Apparel if you haven't already. They have an Instagram and a website. I'll go ahead and, like I said, link them in the description below. As always, thanks for watching 4K Motoring. Again, I'm Chris. The Ducati is back up and running in full functionality, and we'll catch you next time.